nerdy jurors, my name is Maria Park, and this is Approach the Nerd. And in this episode, we're reviewing the new comic release for Spider-Man Velocity, Issue 1. So let's get to it! So the issue opens up in the Brooklyn Botanical Garden, where Spider-Man is having a battle of wits and might with Swarm. Eventually, Spider-Man uses his webbing to cocoon him, telling him that he's been robbing the city blind, and that some people are quite allergic to bees. Then we see that even though Swarm is cocooned, his bees are still surrounding Spider-Man, letting him know that they cannot be contained. Unfortunately, this swarm of bees overpower Spider-Man and save Swarm, with Swarm saying "leave us be" while he searches out a new hive. And of course, in Spider-Man true style, he tells Swarm as he's flying away that has to be the best pun of the night. He also makes a note to look into an armored spider suit, or defense against pokey, stingy, and zappy villains. Next we see that MJ is texting Peter about her and Ben interviewing people about a string of mysterious assaults. One of the witnesses is being very sarcastic and uncooperative, in which MJ makes a comment that, to be honest, I kinda wanna beat him with a curling iron myself. And the nurse then says, yeah, that's another thing the victims have in common, they pretty much all sucked. Then Ben's response is, believe it or not, there's usually something to that. But MJ is still in awe of Ben Urich, so completely fangirling in the moment. Ben and MJ next interview the owner of a small comedy club where some of the victims have been attacked, and she lets Ben know that there's not surveillance footage because the comics hate being videotaped outside of publicity. She also tells him that she put a ban on cell phones, but MJ finds a video online with different angles that's trending already that obviously have been taken by phones in the club. MJ wonders if the video is fake, but Ben says ordinarily, but it lines up with all of the eyewitnesses' accounts that they had earlier. As MJ and Ben are walking home, he mentions a story his friend Maggie Lorca was investigating about Oscorp. Then they're suddenly attacked by an invisible force. And the next panel we see that Peter is working on something in his tiny apartment, when MJ runs in screaming, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, Peter. Then she says, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, and slams the door. Peter, being the ever-loving boyfriend, says, I hate to contradict, but you don't seem okay. And she replies, sorry to barge in, but your place was closer. There's no other way to say it, Peter. I thought the thing in the video was fake, but then when we were walking home and it happened to us, Ben Urich and I were attacked by a ghost. The look on Peter's face is absolutely hysterical. He's looking at her like she's either high or swallowed some stuff she should not have been taking. This annoys MJ, who says not to look at her like that, calling him Spider-Man. Now a few minutes later, he says, I don't think you're crazy. And she replies that he should because it sounds crazy. But what happened, and she doesn't know what to say about it. But she says, hey, if a ghost dragged my girlfriend down the street, who am I to? And of course, she says stop. Peter starts laughing and then apologizing because obviously he doesn't believe her. But of course, being a loving boyfriend again, he says, I believe you completely. We just need to dig a bit deeper because Spider-Man can't punch a ghost, on account they don't exist. MJ sighs and changes the subject. She then notices what he's been working on in the room and asks what everything is. Now this gets Peter excited, and then he tells her that he was getting worked over by Swarm at the Brooklyn Botanical Garden earlier, when inspiration struck. He then shows her a sketch he's been working on of isolated and armored against stingy, zappy, and otherwise hard-hitting villains. His working title, The Arachnite. MJ snatches the drawing from him and says, you fought a sentient being in a giant garden, and yet my ghost story's ridiculous? Peter tries to defuse the situation, saying as soon as they're able to find a scientific reason for the ghost, in which MJ cuts him off and says, you'll just use it to make a new suit. And with bright eyes, he says, possibly. The next day at the Daily Bugle, MJ is working on an article with Peter looking over her shoulder. When she finishes her story, Robbie lets her know that she still owes a vanishing food story, and even though he doesn't mind her shadowing Ben from time to time, it does not excuse her from her own deadlines. To which she says she's all over it. But as soon as Robbie walks away, she sighed and said she forgot all about that stupid puff piece. Vanishing food? Stop the presses. I mean, somebody probably ate it. MJ then says she wants to pop in on Ben before they go out to lunch. Peter and MJ find Ben in the stacks, where he tells them he found the old ghost story he was telling MJ about the previous evening. When MJ reads the article, she notices that the reporter died investigating illegal genetic testing at Oscorp, and tells Ben that this is wild. Now back at Peter's apartment later on, MJ wonders if the tests in the article are the same tests that created Mr. Negative. Peter said that the timeline adds up, so it could be. Then Peter asks, why do I get the feeling you're not super focused on our equipment tests? To which she responds, it's because you never fully appreciated your lady's ability to multitask. She then lets him know about a robbery in progress. Then Spider-Man asks the guys that are robbing the place if they're willing to help him with a little field test on his new armor. And he allows them to take a few hits. And I mean a lot of hits, smacks, and attacks before he takes them out, leaving them with a, I sincerely appreciate your participation, fellows. Quite literally, couldn't have done this without you. Next, we see that MJ is very preoccupied during their sushi dinner date, to which MJ feels guilty and apologizes for ruining date night. He tells her it's totally fine because even though he hates silence, investigation looks good on her. To which MJ asks, even though I'm working on a ghost story? To which Peter says, with her working on the story, it won't be a ghost story much longer. Right as he finishes that statement, an invisible force attacks the table. A voice says, you can't hide deep enough, I'm everywhere, lady. And it also orders Mary Jane to throw the file she's holding in the trash. Peter yells for whatever it is to leave MJ alone. But the mysterious voice just yells that MJ and the trench coat need to back off. And then the entire table kind of floats up in the air. And of course, all of the fellow customers of the sushi restaurant are now running for their lives. And then we see that Peter's spider sense is going crazy and MJ is now floating in the air. When Peter asks what's going on, MJ simply says, I don't know, probably science. So good issue. I do love the artwork. It kind of reminds me of a cross between some of the magazine animated series scans you see and Ultimate Spider-Man. The artwork looks very, very similar. But I do like all of the humor in this. Peter is extremely funny and sarcastic throughout the entire issue. So I really hope they keep that going forward. And the suit is pretty sweet, so I like what they did there. I'm interested to see what happens in the next issue, and I more than likely will do a review like this one on that one as well. I know this is a tie-in to the game, so it's the game universe. But yeah, all in all, I think it's pretty good. But hey, what did you think? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Is it meh? Leave a comment below and let us know. And until next time, I can't wait for you to approach the nerd. If you'd like to be signed up for jury duty, hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to know who's next on the ballot, hit the notification bell. And if you have time, make sure to check out some of our other videos.